We are the most unorthodox show on the globe, and I am one of your hosts, Myra B. King.
And it's your boy Mojo in the building. We have a special guest with us today, ma'am. Let the people know who you are.
This man is Alana.
And where are you from, Miss Alana?
I'm originally from Trinidad, but I live in the UK. I've been here for about 25 years. So now, yeah.
How's life in the UK right now with all the pandemic stuff going on and everything?
Well, actually, they're sort of easing off on the restrictions right now as we speak. Our Prime Minister has been in a bit of a kerfuffle with parties being had during the pandemic. And denying that it has happened when we clearly use our common sense to see that he's lying. But apart from that, yeah, we're just going through the motions here, really. But things are easing up quite a bit, I'd say.
Now, are they mandating the vaccine over there or anything like that?
Yes, they are, as far as I know. But for me, I've chosen to get the vaccine because of my compromised immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like being sick anyway. I mean, that's my main drive for taking care of my body anyway.
Absolutely.
I don't like being sick at all. So I got it for my own protection, really. But there are discussions. I'm actually not sure. And I'll be quite honest with you. Even though there's so much going on in the UK and in the world right now, there are some things I'm keeping up with in the news and media, and then there are other things I don't. And at the moment, that's one of the things that I'm not.
No, absolutely, as it should be. Did you grow up in the UK or did you grow up in Trinidad?
I grew up in the UK. I came to the UK when I was 11, a wee little tot, and I've lived here since I'm 37 now. So it was my birthday the other week.
Oh, happy belated birthday to you.
Yeah, happy belated birthday. So how is it growing up in the UK? Like, what's it like out there?
For me, it was really strange coming from a culture where there's music everywhere. I say music young children shouldn't even be hearing, bump and grind and ting, ting, ting. But, things like that. But coming over here and seeing there's such a vast difference between the culture, not to mention the heat, but just the culture and how people are and the difference in food and how people treat you as someone who's foreign and has an accent. You learn pretty quickly that you are different. And so I had to learn to adapt to living in this country because I had so much of the my Trinidadian culture, which had been stamped in me and ingrained in me. And so it's still there, of course, but I really had to sort of work at integrating. I'm not one of those people who can just conform to things easily. It takes work. So coming over here and going to school and being teased for my accent, that I think I didn't even realize I had an accent until people pointed it out to me. So it goes to show until people point things out to you, sometimes you just don't even notice. But so I worked really hard to try to normalize the move for myself as a child and growing older. But I like it now. It took me many years to actually grow to like living in England, because I did go back to Trinidad some years ago. And this was actually before I found out I was positive, because I absolutely hated it here. I hated it here.
Mike, I don't mean to cut you off, but how old you were when you went back and found out that you were and it was HIV positive, correct?
How old was I? I think I was 25. I think I was 25 or 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you find out? Quick show break. We do want to thank you all for tuning into the show. Feel free to browse through our content on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram at Twistedyounginz with a Z. But that's not why we're pausing the show. We're actually pausing the show to let you all know that we are looking for your stories. We would love to hear your testimonies. Did you just recently get sober? Do you have any life-changing events? Did you get abducted by an alien?
Yeah, have you been charged with the crime that you didn't commit? Have you been released from jail off a crime that you didn't commit? Have you ever been in an industry where there's been foul play in the industry or anything like that? Do you have a new business that you're starting and you want to promote your business? Do you have products that you're looking to push to the masses and you want to attract a new audience? Are you interested in merch? Are you looking to start a wholesale? Anything like that? As Myra said, the floodgates are open. We are looking for more interviews and we're looking for more stories to tell and try to help people get their message out to a broader audience. So if you are interested in it, hit us up at twistedyounginz@gmail. Once again, twistedyounginz with a Z at gmail.com. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the page. Make sure you follow all content and be on the lookout for more content on the way. Anima?
That's it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. I found out purely by accident. I was not expecting it at all because a friend of mine, she was having some female issues and she wanted to go and get checked out to see, what was going on with her body. And she's usually quite diligent with that sort of stuff. Me, I would say dumb, thinking that I was just having sex with my partner at the time, and unprotected sex with my partner at the time, and thinking, okay, well, I'll be fine because I know I'm not doing anything, not thinking that he might be doing something, which he was. And so I went with this friend to get a checkup at the sexual health clinic, and I wasn't even going to get tested, is the thing. I went there and she asked me if I wanted to get tested, and I said no, I refused. Can you believe? And her and the nurse asked me again. They said, well, while you're here, why not just get checked out? And I said, well, okay, I'm here, I'll just do it. All the while thinking that I had nothing to worry about, right? And went in, gave them my blood, and then left. 2 weeks later, they called me and told me on the phone that I was HIV positive, and I could not believe they were talking to me. It just did not feel as though they were talking to me, Alana. And I was in shock. I felt like I left my body. I was in shock. I couldn't quite say the words to my friend because I was at her house. I just happened to be at her house actually when they called, and they asked me to come in. They asked me if I was available to come in on that particular day they called, and I went in and sat with the doctor, and the doctor sat there in front of me telling me that I'll be okay. It's a manageable illness. Once you take your medication, you'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I was feeling. I was feeling like I was going to die. I felt in that moment that I had died. He literally sat in front of me, and it was as though the words were just passing straight through me, and I just didn't hear anything he was saying, really. And my friend was in the corner, and she was feeling really terribly about it, and she was sobbing, and and I was just there, just stoic, just sitting there. And it was only afterwards, when I left there, then it sort of hit me that I'm HIV positive, and I didn't want to live. I did not want to live, because I didn't see how I could live. And as per my lack of knowledge of how HIV, how it worked, I thought I would have died pretty soon. I was going to die, and there was no point to living, essentially. And it took so many years for me to overcome the sense of disgust with myself. And this is because of my own ignorance about HIV, though. This is a thing. This is the ignorance. This is and coming from the country that I'm originally from, HIV is seen as, of course, it's not HIV, AIDS is the deadly virus. But it moved along so much further medically than it was when it first came out. And so things are different now. Now, a person on medication cannot transmit the virus to someone else. And I think that's important. And this is one of the reasons I'm so sort of out and proud, so to speak, because I know that I can't pass the virus on. I actually cried when I first heard the news that a person on HIV on medication couldn't pass the virus on, because there'd been rumors, because there'd been studies, and but it's sort of like a conspiracy theory. You might hear something, but if it's not proven and everyone's not talking about it as fact and true, then
Yeah.
it's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
But when the CDC and everyone else and who published it on the website and things like that, and doctors started sort of really focusing on letting patients know, and my doctor let me know that this is the case, and I had a conversation with them about having sex and if I'd be able to pass it on, and they said no. I think I asked about 5 times throughout a year just to make sure, because I just couldn't believe it. So it took some belief, some soul searching to get used to. But before finding that out, though, I had relegated myself to living a sort of non-existent life. I'm alive, but I'm not present.
Can you elaborate?
Okay, it was as though I was just living, eating, doing the fundamental things a living being does: eat, sleep, breathe, and and then the other things, but not sort of connecting with life and enjoying life and connecting with myself and seeing purpose and feeling purposeful, and knowing that I had a place in the world. I felt like I didn't have a place in the world anymore. And I had enough, actually. The HIV really was the cherry on top for me, because I'd experienced so many traumas in my life as it was. And I really felt like that was it. Life was just not going to let me have good things. And that's how I felt.
I mean,
what?
Yeah.
And you said you went through that for many years. When did you sort of start connecting to reality, start feeling like you had a purpose to be able to live?
You see,
or have you, or do you just deal with it?
No. In terms of the HIV is a part of my life. It's a part of me. I take my medication and that's it. Life goes on. My real issues in my life had always been pertaining to my traumatic experiences that I had as a child, going through sexual abuse as a child, and just a whole slew of things, really, and just dealing with that. And the diagnosis just felt like, that was life sort of slapping me. So I was trying to deal with my depression and trauma before that. And then that came along. And then I would say it took me about 5 years after being diagnosed to realize, because you ask yourself a question, and the question is, why me? Why me? You know, when anything happens to us, to humans, we tend to ask ourselves, why me? And then I started sort of asking myself the opposite question, why not me? And it was when I sort of focused on the why not me, why not me part of that equation, I realized that anything could happen to anyone. So I'm not special in the case that something bad happened to me, or I'm not special in the case that something good could happen to me. I'm just a part of life where things are happening.
I was gonna say, if you don't mind me asking, how old were you when you experienced your traumatic experience of sexual abuse?
Oh, I was 4. I was 4, yes. My mother had left us because my father, he was physically abusing her. So she literally ran off to the UK. And she left. She had no choice but to leave us there with him, and leave us there in Trinidad. And we were left in the care of someone who didn't know how to be a parent, didn't care, and essentially just a narcissist. So he didn't know and didn't care to be a parent. And so he would always have, because he used to sell weed, but he so essentially was a drug dealer. And so he used to sell he used to sell weed. And growing up, you know, there would be all these different strange men coming to the house to buy, you know, the weed and things. And he would always have these male friends around him, not giving a thought to the fact that he had daughters or anything like that. We didn't even have when I think about it, he didn't even think that his daughters would need a bathroom, somewhere to wash themselves, in private, away from prying male eyes. You know what I mean? That was the sort of situation we were dealing with and left in. But I think you get the gist from, you know, him being so abusive to the point of, you know, my mother running off and having no choice but to do that. And so he just used to leave us on our own for the most part, you know. From 4 to when I was 4, my sister, she's 4 years older than me, so she would have been 8. And then my brother, he was 6 at the time. So we really had to sort of raise ourselves, essentially. And it was hard. So the first instance I remember, and it's interesting because I was thinking about this, the person, in fact, who first did it to me today. And I was thinking about, I was making some potato wedges. And I remember he always used to put some plain flour on the sort of dust. He used to make chips a lot. I remember that. He used to, potato chips, fries. He used to dust the potatoes with flour and then fry them. And I always remember that I used to like the chips he made. And so I say that to say that that person sort of lulled me into a sense of safety, and used that against me to abuse me. And it's interesting, actually, because the way it got exposed really was, and I've never actually discussed this really, but I'm comfortable with talking about it because I think it's not it's something I experienced, but it's not something that I should be ashamed of, because it was an experience that happened and I had, is how I look at it, you see. so my brother, my sister, and I were playing around the house, and he was looking out for us. So my dad left him to look after us. And I don't know how it happened, but I sort of found myself in the room by myself with him. And essentially, this is the first encounter with him, really. I remember him wanting me to touch things that I shouldn't touch. And things happened in between there. And my brother and my sister, they happened to see what happened, sort of, and they shouted. And they said, "Hey." And it's interesting that I actually remember this. They said, "Hey." And that was when he sort of jumped up, I remember. And to be honest, my memory sort of fades from then on, but I just remember I remember being startled. And then afterwards, I think when my dad came home, they told my dad, because obviously I was 4. And I can't remember actually my dad really doing anything.
And
you were 4 at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say before, I'm sorry to cut you off, but thank you for sharing. I know that's that's kind of close. And you said it's interesting that you remember that. It's not interesting that you remember that, because anything that's a part of your life and that changed your life in a worst way ever, or something that you couldn't even see happening to you, that's going to stick with you forever. And I'm 100% sure that from that point on, well, maybe not, but you probably felt like you couldn't trust anybody, no matter if it's a family member, friends. You just look at people double-sided just because of what you went through, and you don't mean to think like that sometimes, but it just happened to be like that naturally. And it's something that's always going to be a part of you. You know what I mean?
Because you see a duality in a person, in people's nature, that you now know that you can't take back. It's, you've uncovered something about human nature, people that you can't sort of forget. You see this one face that smiles, and then you see another face that's deceptive and essentially evil, right? And it makes you wonder about people, it makes you wonder about, and naturally so, because you've had these experiences, because that wasn't just my only experiences, that was just one of them. So then because when you go through things like that, you learn to keep quiet. You learn to keep quiet. You learn to not talk about your experience, because again, shame, and you're told not to by the abuser. And also you intrinsically know not to for some reason, right? And I think, and there's a sort of, you're aware that there's a sort of conditioning around in society that you shouldn't say anything. Like, you get that sense, or I got that sense based on where where it happened to me and where I had lived at the time.
And especially when you have to be around that person, it's like you can't even fully heal or how you want, when sometimes you have to be around that person after it happened. It's like it's a feeling that you can't explain. Like, I don't want to say it's necessarily embarrassment. It's not even embarrassment. It's just something you can't even put a emotion to, or name, or feeling to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those ineffable things that you can't sort of put words to. But for me, the words I would use is it's a sense of losing your voice, losing your beingness, losing your sense of innocence and connectedness to other people, because intrinsically within the dynamic between you as a child and that adult, you then learn that, well, you are powerless in that dynamic, right? You know, you could say something, but as a child, you're thinking as a child, you don't have that sort of critical thinking, reasoning, and all of these things. You are thinking as a child, and as a child, you might think, okay, well, I don't want to bother anyone. And I think in my situation also, it was a case of, well, who was there?
Yeah.
Who was there to be on my side, essentially, and sort of look out for us. It was we were living at our dad's at the time, but then later on we sort of moved around to different family homes and things like that, where abuse still went on with people. So I'd say I learned that the abuse doesn't just happen in one place. It's not just one person. It could happen anywhere with anyone.
At what time did the abuse stop? I should say, around what age did you, I would say, get away from it?
When I was, well, coming over here really, at 11. Yeah, coming over here at 11. But when I came over here, it was a different story with my mother. That was in and itself quite a shaping experience, coming over here, meeting my mother and not connecting really with her, but trying to connect with her, but not connecting with her, and having certain experiences with her, essentially feeling like, well, what's the point of having parents?
Why do you think that was? Why did you feel like that?
Was she not showing love? Did she not know how to show love to you?
No. I'm trying to share with being respectful to her. I don't we don't speak now.
Yeah.
But we don't, we're estranged now, but I'm trying to share without being disrespectful towards her.
I guess I'm asking what was the disconnect between you two? Because like you said, you're trying to get the love, or you're trying to, you know, show the compassion or receive the compassion, and you're just not feeling it, or?
No, my mom just didn't know how to have children, didn't know how to be towards children. That's just it. And by the time we came to live with her, even though we were young, the mindset of children over there, especially when you live like we did, it's a different mindset. You're no longer a child in your mind, right? Because of the experiences I had, that sense of innocence was gone, and my mom, I don't feel, understood that we actually had lived a traumatic life there, with being without a mother and essentially father. It was, in terms of my dad, you know, I did love my dad, because I did believe he loved me. He didn't do any funny business with me, but I did love my dad. But then I learned some things about him later on that just was unsavory. And then he, I think when he got shot, I stopped hating him. Yeah, I stopped hating him when he got shot. When I found out that he actually got shot and murdered in front of his home, our old home, I I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry. You know, I wanted to feel something, but I couldn't feel anything.
Why is that? Why couldn't you feel anything about it? Was it just,
Because I
there?
had no love, no juice left to give to that human being. I start thinking of people. I think when people hurt, for me, when people hurt me enough, they just become another human being. And so he just became a human being to me. And so there was no love. There was no, I wasn't wishing him dead. I just didn't think about him, essentially. So by the time he got shot, I just couldn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything.
But when he got
killed,
you let it go. You let go of not the animosity that was built up, but you let go of the fact that you couldn't connect. You basically relinquished it.
Yeah, I just let go. I let go of the hate, the dislike, the everything, really, because I don't. For me, you can't hate someone who's no longer there, because it only impedes your growth and it only restricts your mental well-being or happiness. For me, is what I felt. And hanging on to that just was not conducive to a positive direction in my life. Yeah, for me.
Yeah. So molding yourself into who you are now, 37-year-old beautiful woman who's been through sexual abuse, HIV, not having a relationship with your parents. Where did you find your strength, your dignity, your faith in? Where did you get your spiritual shield from?
I used to be heavily into new age sort of alternate beliefs, which was really, really helpful. Now I'm not so much, but I used to be heavily into the alternative belief of crystals and law of attraction and whatnot. So that really helped me, believing and feeling that there was something bigger. I've never really been I've never been a Christian or anything like that. So none of those major religions. But I
believe in Jesus.
Do
you believe in Jesus?
No, I don't. No.
Okay.
I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus.
Okay.
What do you think it was that pushed you through?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
I think there is something in life that just pushes you. It's a thing that just wants to be. It's neither. It's not good or bad. It's just an energy that you get a sense of that just wants to be. And I think also as humans, we have the ability to become resilient. We may not, even though I have depression and mental health issues. And I know now that those are because I have had therapy and have worked on the trauma in terms of the sexual health, all these things. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to make sure, I wanted to differentiate between what's my trauma and what is intrinsically mine, in terms of any mental illnesses and things. So now it's just depression. And I say just depression like it's just depression. But I would say it's just this energy that you get it's like, it's a thumping that just wants to be, and when you sort of tap into it and you let yourself feel more of that wanting to be energy. It's like having a reason why without actually having a reason why. It's like a nudging at you, annoying at you, that you just want more. You want to be, you want to persevere, you want to be a part of the world, you want to help alleviate other people's pain and to try and help give them a new perspective on things, and they help you gain a new perspective on things. And just growth. I think it's the energy of growth. Yeah.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, to hear what you're talking about, far as your experiences, your traumatic experiences, everything that you've gone through up until this point, and then basically, I mean, the energy is what you're talking about, is what led you through it, or what's gotten you through, or to the point where you're at today. I mean, it's an idea. I mean, it's whatever gets you through, I guess, and if that's what got you through, then that's beautiful, because a lot of people don't hear, or a lot of people don't believe in everything that's out here. So
yeah, I totally get that. But it's just, I just think life is just indescribable, in the sense of it just is. And I think I connect with the just isness of life, which means growth and continuous change, and seeking balance, and seeking joy, and seeking happiness. Those are the things I get a sense of, that I want more of.
Yeah. How have you grown to live with and be a spokesperson for HIV, and to become comfortable with it? And I believe you mentioned something earlier about the more you learned about it, you got comfortable with it. Like, you didn't feel like, oh, I want to die, or I just want to leave the earth. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when people hear the word HIV, like we said, automatically we think, AIDS, or, oh, it's the end of the world. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's the sense of doom. I'm going to die now, sort of thing. I think realizing that it's a virus. A virus need places to live. I did something that everybody, every adult, consenting adult does. And then I got an STD from it. So it's not special to me, or I'm not cursed. I think I started just looking at it differently, and shifting my mindset towards it, and just really seeing that there are viruses in the world, and this just happens to be one of them. And I just happen to have this one.
How did your boyfriend at the time take the news?
So when I found out, I was in shock, and my method at the time was shut down. I am not a this happens and then I'm sort of shouting at you. I shut down. So I shut down, and I stopped sort of any contact with him, actually, for 2 weeks, because I was in shock. Okay, and as I said, my go-to trauma response is shut down, or rather was shut down, is I needed time to think about what I was going to say, because I just didn't understand it. Actually, I just didn't understand. And I just at the time, I just wasn't the sort of person to confront people. I needed time to think about how I want to say it, how I want to go about dealing with the situation. Because again, I don't like shouting and things like that. So Yeah. So it was about 2 weeks later, actually. He had called me and we met up. And I told him. And then he told me that he already knew, and he'd known 2 weeks prior, actually. And he had known, and he didn't say anything. Oh, was it 2 weeks or maybe 4 weeks previously, along those lines? And he hadn't said anything, and he just had this look in his eyes, like someone who, like a deer caught in headlights, you know, sort of, oh, I've been found out sort of thing. When I said it to him, when I told him, it was, and I just have never been able to forget the look on his face, actually, when I told him. And he was essentially all I knew. You know, at that time, I was really in the trenches of just living in trauma.
Did he?
You know,
Do you think it was a situation where he may have gave the virus to you, or do you think it was a situation where you may have caught the virus prior? Or
no. I know. I believe he gave it to me, and that's just a belief, because I hadn't gotten tested previously, because in my mind, I haven't slept with so many people, and I use condoms previous to him, so I should be fine. And then we were together for a lengthy period of time, you see. So.
Well, definitely, we definitely want to commend you for sharing, you know, your stories with us, your testimonies, parts of your life with us. This can definitely help someone else, help another individual, but maybe a group of individuals